need an ambulance.
Get away! Back out! Back out!
This is 24-year-old Ariel Thumpa Calloway being rushed into a police scene after she was gunned down while carrying her toddler in Clark Gardens. Moments earlier, gunfire tore through the courtyard during a neighborhood dispute that exploded without warning.
Anybody know what happened?
They just started shooting us. Shooting, I ran up there, see my sister laying on the ground.
They say it was like a war zone out here. Oh my God.
But what police didn't know was how the chaos began, who fired first, or why a pregnant mother trying to take her toddler home was struck by a round meant for someone else. The question detectives had to answer was simple. Who pulled the trigger that started it all?
Not able to get her heart start back. She... I'm so sorry.
Are you serious?
Ariel Thumpa Calloway was 24, 4 months pregnant, and raising a toddler who stayed attached to her side. People described her as protective and warm, someone who stepped between arguments because she cared too much to let anyone get hurt. Ariel had nothing to do with the tension that had been simmering through Clark Gardens, an apartment complex in Athens, Georgia. The woman who shot her wasn't a partner, nor a stalker or a stranger, but another resident caught in a cycle of fights, arguments about kids, and frustrations that had been brewing for months. There was no hidden motive between them, just proximity, pride, and a place where shouting matches happened often enough that most people didn't expect one to turn into gunfire. Witnesses later described the courtyard as restless long before the shooting. A fight broke out earlier in the evening, drawing a crowd that never fully settled afterward. Standria, Ariel's sister, gave detectives an early layout of who was standing where and how the argument shifted across the courtyard.
Well, I know where she was when she fell, but when she got hit is where I'm interested in, is where she was standing.
Everybody who was right there with her is telling me that she was walking home. She had already, because her son was over there playing with some other kids in front of that white truck. She had already grabbed her son and said, okay, y'all, I'm finna go in the house. I'm finna take Mason home. And she already had started walking towards her house.
Okay. We're really trying to establish exactly kind of position-wise where she is in relation to the corner of that building. I know she falls kind of in the middle. But what I'm wondering is when she gets hit, if this is she here, where she's kind of still in front of the building, or has she made it across the edge? Do you know of any?
Cassandra Starr, Leosha Calhoun, Belinda Hood, Keyshandra Chapel. All of them were pretty much right there.
Body cam footage from the first responding officers reflected the same atmosphere. People mentioned the earlier fight, the noise, the arguing, and the way tempers lingered.
All right, where did this happen at?
Oh my God. Over here.
Over here?
Yeah.
All right. And then she ran over here, or she was brought over here?
I have no idea. Somebody picked her up.
Somebody picked her up. All right, where did it happen at?
Shot right here.
Who the fuck was you?
Okay. All right, I need everybody out of here, okay? Out of this scene. Hey, stay away, stay away.
I don't pick up the shoe.
Hey, Cassandra, I found the scene. They told me it's on the side of the building where the victim was laying. I found the scene. There's blood here. That's 10-4. What are you looking for? All right, don't worry about it for right now, okay?
Several witnesses described Caressa Cooper pacing, shouting, and refusing to disengage. The conflict kept looping through the same patch of space. What should have burned out instead sharpened. Ariel wasn't involved in any of it. She stood with her child and a small group of friends off to the side and away from the shouting. That's where she was when the first gunshot cut through the courtyard. The chaos was immediate. People fleeing the scene, medics arriving, officers trying their best to get people to stay. There were witnesses everywhere, but the street was chaos.
Right here, right here, right here. Hey, y'all, move out the way, move out the way.
All right, Mark, up and down, up and down. Lift it up, hold the right hand up, hold it right down. Hey, keep us clear. We're gonna have to scoop and go. Got the legs?
This might be the scene. Got a bat there. I got a bat over here. She was already up here when we got here.
Okay.
No, I don't have any. Everybody stay! Everybody stay! Everybody stay! Stay! Get your phone! Get your phone!
Officers arriving within minutes tried to understand where the shots came from. One of the first people they spoke with was Belinda Tiny Hood, Ariel's sister, who had been beside her when everything started.
Hey, don't come over here.
I'm looking for my phone.
Okay, but we're not worried about your phone right now. I need you to get off right here. That's okay. You have any information for me?
Oh, we were standing right down there and girls started coming from down the road.
So,
We were running.
Where was your sister at?
I was standing right there.
Right there?
Yeah.
And the gunshots came from where?
That way.
That way.
Yeah.
Okay, and then where was your sister at?
We was out running. We all got to
But
safety.
where was your sister at?
We all were right there.
Right there? Is that when the gunshots came off?
Yeah, we was standing right here.
Right here near this box?
In the street.
A street, okay. And then the gunshots came off.
Yeah,
It came from that way.
Can they let me out? That's the hospital, please.
How far up? How far up? Where's the gunshots coming from?
That come from down that way. I don't know. I just hit by my feet and I kept running. I was standing in the road. It should be a bullet right there in the road.
Okay, and then she came here and fell down, or who brought her here?
She fell right there.
Okay, and then she was brought over here?
Yeah.
Okay, you have ID on you?
No.
All right. I need to talk to you, okay? Black man. All right, this is the sister. She's saying they were right here. The gunshots came from over here. So
Yeah, I was told too, but I can't.
Whoa.
we got to get y'all outside this place. I understand. We got to get y'all outside this place right here, okay? Hey, sir. Yeah.
Don't let me move.
Okay. All right.
Who's waiting on me?
Who's waiting on you?
That's talking to me.
Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah.
All right, what's your name?
Belinda Hood.
I'm on house right now.
I go to the hospital, Belinda Hood.
More officers began mapping casings, ricochet marks, and angles around the courtyard.
Look for shell casing. Because right now we got where she laid down and then she got brought up to the car. But according to the sister, it happened she got shot by right here.
Yes, sir. Say what? The yellow. I don't have. I think the stick by the shell casing. Yeah, I don't have that. Should be some.
What they found matched the confusion from the crowd earlier. People gave opposite directions, pointed toward different corners, and offered fragmented explanations. In those early minutes, nothing lined up.
Now, do you know anything about who was beefing?
I don't even know. I had just got out of work, sir. Came home, got my kids in the house. Like I said, I seen a crowd. You see a crowd, you like, what's going on? And I stay out here for once.
Yeah.
So.
Do you know anybody out here that may be a better witness?
It was so many people out here.
Right.
They was, who right there? I got to see that face. It was, everybody was out here. Everybody that stay out here witness. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
At the hospital, doctors sadly pronounced Ariel and her unborn child dead, and her family was devastated.
This is Dr. Chestnut. He's the ER that's taking care of her.
You're Miss Alexander's mother, is that right?
Ariel.
Okay. So, I don't know if you're with her or not. She came in with gunshot wounds in the chest, here, and here.
She had two.
Well, it's probably one through and through. She had lost pulses en route, and we're not able to get her heart to start back. She has died. I'm so sorry.
Are you serious? No, please, no.
This chaos gave detectives their first real sense of the challenge ahead. The neighborhood had lived through the same burst of violence, yet everyone processed it differently. The investigation wasn't starting with a single thread. It started with a tangle of stories that pulled in every direction. And the next stage would be untangling it, thread by thread, until the shooter emerged from the noise. Detectives moved from witness to witness, collecting stories that refused to line up. The first group they pressed was the cluster of men inside apartment number 160 and number 3. It was a group already on their radar for one reason. Guns were recovered inside, and the trajectory of a shot hitting Ariel's side made that apartment a plausible firing point. That alone made every man in the room a potential shooter, or at minimum a witness to whoever picked up a weapon.
What's up, guys? Whole gang's in here?
Yep, the gang's in here.
Gang's in here. Scoot down for me so I can address you guys as a whole. All you gotta do is slide down. Leaseholder. There you are. Alright, guys. Stolen guns in the house. Okay, those guns were likely used in that shooting. Alright. Does anyone want to claim them? Does anyone want to step up? Does anyone want to reach down deep, find your balls, and man up? Because if not, you're fixing to screw this guy. Does anyone want to claim the guns? Okay, would you stand up and go with that officer there? He's going to put you in handcuffs.
Hold up. Y'all, I can't go no jail.
Go ahead and go with him real quick.
Y'all got
And he's going to take you down the hallway. We'll get you squared away.
There was a lot of folks in the house.
No, there was not. There was you folks in the house. Because we had eyeballs on that house all night.
Yeah.
So, let me tell you.
I can't take no gun show.
Well, you just did.
You
You're the leaseholder there. Your responsibility, as are the drugs, as are the guns.
What drugs?
The drugs and the guns. Or the drugs, the guns, and the cash.
The detectives weren't there to hear alibis. They're here to apply pressure and see who cracks first. If someone in number 3 fired back in retaliation, they needed it on record. If someone in number 3 fired first, they needed the name. And if the group really had nothing to do with it, one of them should have been able to explain how 70 shell casings ended up scattered across the courtyard.
Other issue is, your cousin, right? She was your cousin? Was she related to any of y'all? Okay, this is a man moment here, guys, because here's the reality. They're going to say you guys killed her. That's just what it is. When I go to try to find the person who I think probably is responsible, they're going to come back and they're going to say, all you assholes were shooting 70 frickin' rounds. 70 rounds and none of you know shit about shit. His cousin is dead. Her 4-month-old fetus is dead. And guess who they're going to sit here and blame? You guys. Because you're shooting and none of you is man enough to say, yes, we went out there and shot after they shot at us. None of you are willing to stand up and be a man and tell me what in the hell happened. And guess what? She's probably going to not be held responsible for killing his cousin and that 4-month-old baby. So I'm going to put it on you guys again. Does anyone want to step up and be a man today and tell me what in the hell happened? Because right now I got a room full of guys who want to act like they're a bunch of big, bad fucking gangbangers who can't do a goddamn thing to stand up to be men when it counts. What do we want to do to here today, guys? His cousin is dead. Every one of you knew her. And she wasn't a bad person. No, she was an innocent bystander. But no one wants to tell me what happened. So what do you think is going to happen? They're going to say there were 70 rounds out there. She was shot in the side. You guys must have killed her. if you guys were shooting,
Who was on the side of her? Who was on the same side?
Got our DNA.
well, here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing, guys. All you are saying, with the exception of one, I didn't know anyone. I was inside playing 2K. Now, I didn't know anyone got shot. I don't know how there's 70 rounds in front of my apartment. And you, how many damn pictures you want to post of you with a gun before someone sits here and says, hey, maybe that gun might be yours?
But no one comes out and says anything helpful for the investigation.
If you guys fired in retaliation after she was hit, then you need to tell me.
You want to know how I know you sound crazy as hell? If you look at the apartment and where y'all got her body at, with the blood, that shit don't even add up.
Where we was at.
Like, come on, bro.
It does add up.
Right there where they, how the hell they hit her?
Somebody dragged her body over there too. Where the shit was, bro. You got a whole pile of blood on the side of the goddamn building, bro.
Okay.
Do y'all job, bro. Before y'all just say something, bro.
So, all right, let's bring it down a little bit. How does it make sense? Okay, I'm going to tell you. You guys are at the 160 building, right? She's standing at the edge of the 160, right? You guys are at 160. She's over here at the edge of 160. Well, she's shot in the side.
She shot in the side.
Yes.
She got hit.
Well, you guys heard. I know because I've seen. She's shot in the side. Then it's a reasonable argument that that shot could have been coming from the room, the apartment you guys were all in.
She said 70 shots.
You guys had 70 rounds out there. Okay. Between 160, number 3, there were 70 shells. But you guys don't know anything about what happened with those 70 shells. Okay. Well, listen, I've made my plea for you guys to explain to me what happened, to explain to me why there's 70 rounds. You guys clearly do not want to explain to me what happened. Sure. Aliens could have done it.
The night before, shortly after Ariel was pronounced dead at the hospital, her sister Belinda described something very different. She'd been standing close to Ariel when the chaos started. Her memory opened with a sudden blast behind her and the shock of bullets hitting the pavement at her feet.
No. Me and girl were down the road. Next thing you know, me and Thumpy, we were standing right there in the middle area. Well, he had just moved. Next thing you know, gunshot in the back going off. So the gunshot in the back went off. It was the bullet that hit my all feet. So that when we all just started taking out running, because like they were aiming toward the middle section. So then my niece was there. So I jumped on top of her in the house. They say, you know, me and Thumpy was just standing right there talking. And it was just a whole shootout after that. Like, it wasn't even a gun going off. Like, that's it. And you know, they said she got hit. So when I ran around the corner, she was just laying there. She wasn't moving. She was doing nothing.
There was a fight earlier, right? And that's why we.
Girls doing everything obfuscated. Well, somebody down their way had a gun.
But y'all weren't involved in that initial.
No, we wasn't involved in none of it. Like, we just out there. Some stay out there. So, you know, we just be out there.
Okay. Did y'all see any of the first initial girls? Did y'all know any of them? Because it sounds like that's what it was kind of about.
It started on their side. Somebody in the red car driving crazy. I don't know who the hell they was.
What kind of red car?
Honda.
A woman named Jocelyn Wheeler carried her own storm of impressions. She was a friend of Ariel's, doesn't live in Clark Gardens, but was visiting when the shooting occurred.
So you were right there?
Right there next to her.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Yeah, because when first we were just talking, huddled up like this, and just about random stuff, then we hear a shot, and I'm like, was that a gun?
Where did you hear that from?
I heard it from, like, far. Because I'm
When you
standing.
say far, is it behind you, or is it a
it was on the other crowd, because they said it was a crowd over there.
So
on
that
the
you heard a
I
shot?
heard a shot.
A single shot or
a single shot first.
So single shot all the way down, like when you say the other crowd, is that
the
towards
other
like the
end? It was like
office and
towards
the playground and all that stuff?
I don't know what the office is.
Okay. So when you come in, you came in.
Okay,
like
you
the
know where
actual
Neosha
front
house
entrance?
is. Okay, and everybody was huddled.
You get a big crowd kind of in the middle.
Right here in the middle, and it was over here on the far end, on the right, left end, all the way down. It was more people down that way.
Okay, so there's two crowds.
Two crowds.
There's one crowd kind of on the end. And
but
then
this crowd that that I was with, it was like it was guys here talking, it was females over here talking. It was just kind of like people everywhere. Like they just met up, like everybody just hanging out.
Another resident, the victim's aunt, Kelly Coleman, faced an accusation of having a video of the shooting. Neighbors had already pointed at her for recording something, and by the time officers reached her, she was exhausted by the speculation. She insisted she had no video and pushed back hard against the idea that she was hiding evidence. She even initially refused to give detectives her name for fear of getting implicated.
Well, I don't know what went on out here, so I can't give you any information.
Okay.
Where
were you at the time?
Where I was at the hospital. I was at the hospital.
When?
When?
I mean, when the shooting happened.
I wasn't out here.
Okay.
No, I got a phone call.
What time was it when you left my house?
I got a phone call saying that whoever y'all out here seeing, had got shot or whatever. I wasn't out here.
Okay. Well,
I was at work.
Okay. Well, look, the reason I wanted to talk to you because we just got a flag down said that you was in the hot pants might have some video on the phone that might help us sort this out.
How y'all gonna feel I got something? I don't know nothing. Like, I can give y'all something I don't know. I just came out here. Now they trying to say I got the hot pants, got the video.
Your ass in them hot pants got you from
yes,
like the
fuck.
Kelly,
listen.
No, I'm not.
So maybe you don't, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm just letting you know. That's why I wanted to talk to you.
Okay, but I don't know anything. I wasn't out here in the shooting, so I can't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
I don't know who he is.
You may not have been out here, but maybe somebody had video. Maybe it's floating around right now. Maybe it's on Instagram. I don't know. I'm trying to sort that out.
I don't know.
I don't even be honest.
Yeah, I'm just walking through, sir. I don't know anything.
Do you stay out here?
My family does, but I don't know. I used to, but no.
Ma'am, what's your name?
For what? I can't give you my name because I didn't.
That's fine. Okay.
I shouldn't give you my name. I don't know nothing. I can't give you a name because it's like you trying to. I wasn't out here, so I can't like just give you no. I know you're trying to investigate, but I can't. I can't.
Your cousin who was killed tonight?
Huh?
It's your cousin who was killed
It's
tonight?
my niece.
Your niece?
Yeah.
Okay.
Niece-in-law.
Do you want to help us?
I would love to help y'all, but I wasn't out here, so I can't give you no information.
Standria offered the earliest version of her own memory. She said the shots came out of nowhere. She didn't know where the first one came from and didn't know who fired it. She had been moving when the noise cut through the courtyard, and everything after that came in pieces.
Everybody, see, this is what really pissed me off because I didn't see who actually was shooting because I was in the back. By the time the shooting stopped, and then I heard screaming, and then I heard somebody say somebody got shot, so I immediately just dropped everything I had in my hand and started running over the steps. I only had to go over 2 steps. As soon as I got over the steps, I seen my sister laying on the ground.
Other residents filled in the fragments. Someone pointed toward the street by the playground. Someone else mentioned the breezeway. And another described the crowd scattering in opposite directions. The investigation had reached the stage where every account contradicted the next, leaving detectives with a pile of impressions and no consistency. Across Clark Gardens, people reacted to the shooting in ways officers see in communities where cooperation carries social risk. Some residents hesitated before answering a simple question. Some cut themselves off mid-sentence, and others looked over their shoulder before speaking. The reluctance had its roots: neighborhood politics, reputation, and the long history of being labeled a snitch. Kelly Coleman voiced this frustration again the night of the murder.
Ma'am, come here. Listen to me for just a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna punch you real
Okay.
quick. Listen to me.
Huh? I mean, y'all, I'm getting irritated because y'all trying to pressure me something I don't have. I don't know anything.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you is, listen for a second.
I just came to see with my family. Okay, that's all I came out
We're trying
here.
to help your family.
I understand
Okay.
that. But I'm telling you, I'm letting you know, if you want something, you need to go back up that way because they got the information. I don't got nothing. Oh, well, I don't know then. Okay.
The next day, 2 more witnesses were reluctant to share what they saw.
How are you?
I'm Sergeant Geiger. I'm helping trying to put the pieces together over here. I just talked to Brittany, and I want to get everybody's side of the story, and I don't want anybody to feel like, you know, they're ratting on somebody or anything like that. So what I'd like to do, if you guys saw anything or heard anything, and you'd like to have your story told, I'm going to give you my business card, and we can either talk here, or if you feel like you want to go inside and talk or anything like that, you let me know, okay?
Yes, sir.
Here's my card. My number's on there.
Yes,
Do you feel like you want to talk now, or do you feel comfortable? You don't feel comfortable? Okay.
You sure? Not right now.
Okay. All right.
The courtyard hadn't given detectives a straight answer yet, but the scene itself had, and they were about to follow that line step by step. Detectives returned to the physical evidence. The casings recovered from the pavement formed a pattern that lined up with several earlier statements from residents inside Clark Gardens. The first shot consistently traced back toward the playground and a mailbox area. Multiple people mentioned that section of the courtyard, and none of the early comments pointed toward the men who had been detained. Two witnesses lived close enough to observe the courtyard from different angles, and their initial interviews helped detectives understand how people moved before the chaos started. Ivy Dunn, whose apartment overlooked the roadway, told officers where she had been standing during the argument and how the group shifted positions as the tension grew. Her vantage point gave detectives an early reference they can use when mapping out the courtyard.
Where did you say you were standing? By your building?
On the stairs. No, I was standing on the stairs, like towards the middle of the road, right there.
Now, was this on the stairs near where?
It's two stairs, where side of the building where
she got
shot at. Not those stairs, but it's the other stairs.
Verkita Glenn lives outside Clark Gardens, but detectives made a point to visit her home after learning she'd been caught in the crossfire and was grazed by a bullet. She and her friend regularly gathered at the complex, and she happened to be pulling away in her car when the argument broke open. From her position near the roadway, she saw the crowd forming near the power box, heard the first pops, and then watched the gunfire spread across the courtyard.
So did you get hit like as soon as you get out of your car? Are you still like standing at the driver's side?
No, soon Quail could tell you, because Quail's sitting here watching me. I'm looking like, what the hell going on? You know, I'm shocked. Like, you know, you got your music on at first. It's like, boo, 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 you know, like, what the fuck? So I just slam on brakes, like, what the fuck? I don't know where it was coming from, you know what I mean? Because the group of people was up here shooting, and the group of people down here shooting. I don't even know why nobody was shooting. I was so confused, like, what's going on? What's happening right now?
So the initial shooting that starts, are you saying it starts at the
It
playground
started
there?
behind me. The initially first
Because you're facing towards that exit that
I'm
goes.
facing towards Thumping them. Like,
Okay.
I'm in the middle car. Thumping them is right here.
Did you ultimately stop? You know that building where Thumpa ends up
Yes, I stopped right there before you go up
okay.
that hill.
Okay, so right there, almost where if you made a right, you would have been in the parking
Right
lot?
there, I would have been in the parking lot.
Okay, so you stopped.
The trash can, the little green, what do you want to call it? The little green, injury box or something that we all sit on sometimes. It's
a little power box.
Yeah, so we all right here. I'm right here in the middle of the road. Shooting is coming.
And you stopped because there was initial one gunshot, right?
Well, I heard boop boop, but you know, I'm thinking maybe, you know, I'm hearing stuff because my music's on. So when I slammed, I heard a boom boom bow. That's when I'm like, okay, they shooting for real now, because it was different guns. It didn't sound, all of them didn't sound like the same gun. So maybe I'm thinking, they shooting fireworks at first. And then it went to, and you heard ping, pow, you know, the bullets bouncing off of things. And I don't know if I got ricochet or the bullet grazed me. All I know, as soon as I got out and I got halfway to my trunk, I got hit, and I jumped back in the car. I don't know what I don't know what it was, but when I looked at it, I was like, okay, it was a bullet, because I was burnt. Like, mine was initially burnt. Like, you could tell some head.
As detectives compared these interviews, they also had to consider the scale of the shooting itself. 75 rounds in the courtyard that night. The volume raised a question that shaped the next phase of analysis. How did only one person get hit in a crowded complex during that kind of exchange? Were people firing into the air? Were they aiming at each other? Or did the opening shot carry intent that the others didn't?
Well, we counted 75 rounds, so 75.
It was a lot of bullets.
How's up right? And how did they not hit anybody but one person?
See, that's what got me thinking.
So what I'm thinking, Brittany, is that like one was shooting, and then everybody else decided to go get their gun, and they started shooting, and then but are they like shooting just to be heard to be shooting, or are they actually trying to hit somebody and they just?
I think like it was kids with guns that didn't know what they were doing.
That's
what I think.
Yeah. You think? Yeah.
Yeah. I think they just trying to outdo who got this and who got
Well, that's what I'm thinking too, because if you got 75 shots, how the heck is just one person shot? You know, you would think there'd be multiple people shot just within that many rounds.
How crowded it was.
As crowded as it was.
Crowded.
Yeah.
Everybody was in this session being nosy at the point. So
I wasn't here that night, but can you
everybody run to the fight?
See, that's the thing. It's like a pack mentality.
You seen kids running.
Poor babies. I know they're scared to death. Can you show me where she was at? I'm not sure where she. Back right there. Oh, okay.
Right there in that area.
Okay. So you had a good field of vision from here. You could see pretty good from here.
We were standing right there. Where the tree at.
Oh, you were over there. Oh, good Lord. Okay.
We were standing right there.
Yeah.
When the shot popped off.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm thinking nothing from this side over here. No. Okay.
It was really all.
All of it was right over there.
All that.
Okay.
From
all
where
right.
that tree at, it's all happening. The tree was in the middle. It was like the middle. The tree was in the middle.
Do you think some of those rounds went into that tree over there? Were they shooting at you guys at the tree, you think, or you think they were just spraying?
I think they were just shooting everywhere.
Okay.
It hit a tree, a limb off there.
Just stand behind the
A
building.
bullet. I mean, it hit the track can.
Yeah, because it'll go through.
You can hear.
You can hear them ricocheting.
As detectives processed everything, they charted how residents positioned themselves across the courtyard. The walkway leading toward the playground, the stairs facing the roadway, the open stretch where several people had gathered before the shooting. These structural details helped them understand why so many earlier statements referenced the same cluster of space. Detectives compared these accounts. Track 1, the scattered stories of the courtyard. This stayed chaotic. Track 2, the trajectory evidence paired with consistent witness positioning, started forming a line that moved straight toward Caressa's location. By the end of this phase, the investigation stood on 2 tracks. The neighborhood's version of events splintered into competing fragments, and the evidence-driven reconstruction that pointed toward the first shooter. Detectives had spoken with neighbors, relatives, friends, and people who barely knew the victim. Every version of the night pulled in a different direction. And then the investigation shifted. Because what was becoming unavoidable was that multiple people, standing in different corners of the courtyard, arriving at different times, tied to different social circles, were all naming the same woman, the same stance, and the same gun.
They saw it.
I promise you, several of them came to me and said, Auntie, we seen that bad lady with the burgundy braids with a pink gun in her hand, and she shot like this.
Okay. And that's who we think is Caressa? Yeah.
Ivy's interview sharpened the investigative map in a way earlier conversations hadn't. By placing Caressa inside the same chain of tensions that escalated through the courtyard, Ivy gave detectives their first stable point of orientation. Who the crowd had been reacting to, which relationships fed the conflict, and where the pressure had been building long before the gunfire.
I guess first things first, where do you want to start telling the story? Because I know that there were some girls arguing all day.
Yeah,
I know.
all day. And the Cooper girl that went, so what's the bad, jumped on the girl one time, and then they called 2 more other girls over there, and the Cooper went back there and went back over where the girls said and fought the girls some more. And after that, all that day, how they rotted and was talking junk and all this and that.
And the girl, Carissa, she walk around with a gun on her all the time.
Okay, so
Throughout the neighborhood, she walk around with a gun on her all the time.
is it Carissa? Okay.
It's Carissa Cruz, I think. And this lady right here, she was there. Her daughter was fighting with the Coopers. I think they jumped on her daughter, or her daughter was down there was with the girl when they was fighting. Because I seen her out there. This lady right here, who said she did it. Her daughter hangs with, I think, the little cousin or something like that, with Carissa Cooper's cousin.
Ivy's interview pushed detectives to redraw their understanding of who was connected to whom, and where those connections intersected the path of the first shot. By placing one mother's daughter alongside the Cooper circle, Ivy unintentionally mapped out a cluster of relationships sitting closest to the flashpoint.
One of her, I think her daughter was involved, like she was with the Cooper girl, if I'm not mistaken, because I seen her that she was walking on the side, where my partner is at the end. She was walking on the side right there. I think, yeah, that's her. But her daughter was with them little girls.
So she witnessed it too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She witnessed it. She was there. Her.
R-A-I-O-R-D. I got it spelled right. Okay. And okay, so you were
standing on the stairs, and Carissa Cooper, she had the gun, but she was holding the gun on her side, on her side like that with it in her hand. You could see it.
Just
anything.
All right, let me see. Are you standing? Where did you say you were standing? By your building?
On the stairs. No, I was standing on the stairs, like towards the middle of the road, right there.
Now, was this on the stairs near where?
It's two stairs, where the side of the building where
she got
shot at. Not those stairs, but it's the other stairs right there.
Okay.
Like
stairs next to the stairs where the victim was shot. Okay, describe the gun that Carissa had.
Well, the gun that I've been seeing her with, it be on her side. It had the gun that she told with is a black handle. I don't know what kind it is, but I know it's black.
Okay.
It have a black handle because it been hanging out her clothes.
Okay.
And she walked for you to see it.
So, when you said you saw her standing there with the gun by her side, where you had pointed to where she was standing in the street, what was she saying?
She was fucking telling them to come down there and when I shoot, I'ma aim.
Okay.
And she was saying a whole bunch of stuff. Some people down there, they had flipping tasers and everything, but something didn't have nothing to do with that, man. She was just standing there.
The moment Ivy placed Carissa on the roadway with the gun changed the detective's working map. Her description didn't just identify a shooter, it fixed a position. And once the position exists, every later detail has a direction to move forward. What Ivy didn't realize is that her framing locked the investigation into a single geometric question. If the opening shot came from that spot, then every trajectory, every injury, and every movement in the courtyard would either support it or break it.
Okay, so the first person to shoot was...
It was her.
Carissa.
Yes, and it sounded like as she was shooting, the shot was getting closer. The shot was getting closer. She was walking up as she was shooting, the shot was getting closer.
Okay. Was there anybody else shooting at that time?
It's like after she started shooting, cause he stood, the boy saw through. He was on the building, you could barely see him. He was the building across the street from me. He was standing at the end of that building.
Okay. So here's the gas station. And where we were just talking is right here. Okay? If you would, draw a X where you were standing when this happened.
Okay.
So this is where the white truck is.
The white truck?
Alright, this is the truck that they put her in.
Yeah, that's the truck they put it in. And
where
my apartment, I was on the stairs. On the stairs right there, but that's the green thing, right? We was on the stairs. But I think that's it. I can't really. I ain't got my glasses.
It's okay. So the building that we were standing at was right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was this. Okay, this is when you leaving out of Clark Lane, right?
So this is the gas station.
Yeah, that's the gas station. And she was in the middle of the road. No.
See, this is where where we found her.
Yeah, she was right. Yeah.
So she was how
she
far?
She was shooting at the playground right here. She was right here.
Okay, so put an X where she was.
She was right here. Like in the middle of the road right here. You can tell what she had in her hand. You can tell.
Okay. Alright, now put an X where you were.
I was right here. Far. The building right here. This is my building where I stay.
Okay.
The incident happened right there.
Now the question became simple. How many other people saw the same thing? The same time Ivy was giving her statement, officers were canvassing Clark Gardens. They found two women outside who identified themselves as Florence and LaTanya. At first, they were reluctant to talk, but eventually, everything came out. Firstly, they gave one of the clearest accounts yet of the back-and-forth gunfight.
So that was kind of one of my questions was, were they spraying up in the air, or were they like shooting?
I'm going to tell you, initially, these that came from this way were us coming from the air.
Yeah.
These got lower where we was.
See what I'm saying? And that's what I saw. That's ain't into me talking more.
Like,
so that's what the
if we ran it home, they're coming toward us.
This crew right here was shooting from the ground. You shut up in the air, and then you start shooting. So that made them retaliate from that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, and that's what happened. But the people from their way were more in the air. They going over our head. These bullets coming toward us. So we really ran it.
Do we think that they're but do we think the group over here was part of the fight, or do you think they were just shooting just because somebody else was shooting?
No. They were part of the fight. They the people who initiated the fight.
Okay.
Right. That's what
it's three of them that happened, and they initiated all three.
Gotcha.
They left from this end.
Because I know the police got called out earlier.
That's why
to break up the fight.
Mr. Wong or someone came, and the lady who brought him here was Miss Calhoun.
Yeah.
Her daughter lived here. So she wanted to try to neutralize it before it got big, and she called the cops and walked here with the cops to point out the people.
I saw that part.
Right after Mr. Warren left, they waited, they snuck out, came out the back, walked this way in my front, and went back up there and tried to start that girl again.
Okay, so.
But it was a light-skinned young man, and a short, dark-skinned guy when I come out the door right there.
Okay, and what were
and
they
doing? I don't know them. They were hiding around the wall.
Do you think it's people that live here, or do you think it's some people that they don't live here?
The boys don't live here, but the females do.
Yeah.
The ones who let them in their house and the ones who was trying to hide the stuff, they do live out here.
Y'all find a gun and stuff?
Yeah, we covered a lot. Yes, ma'am, we did.
And they do live out here.
Okay.
Those females,
so it's the girls that's really
are allowing them guys to hide the stuff in their house.
The detectives didn't just gain a direction from these statements. They gained a foundation for motive. The witness accidentally exposed a small ecosystem running underneath the fight. Girls pulling the boys in, boys arming themselves, and apartments becoming temporary storage for whatever needed to disappear. That dynamic shifted the incident from a spontaneous outbreak to a coordinated escalation. It also showed why the conflict reignited after officers first cleared the scene. People who wanted the fight to continue still had access to the tools that kept it alive. And once again, Carissa's in the middle of all of it.
Well, you identified several of them. Do you know who the girls are? Do you guys?
Carissa,
Yeah,
Quack, and Mott in the middle section right there beside the trash can.
Yeah, Carissa we knew.
Yep. She had a firearm in her hand on videotape.
Okay. Now, in Quack?
She is the one who was waving. That's the one they took into custody.
Okay, so we got them.
Started it.
Okay. All right, so they've already been picked up.
Yeah,
then.
them
Okay.
the people
Well, that's
who
what I'm
started.
saying. That's where it started. That's where it
That
started.
where it all started from.
Okay.
That where Nusha, that where the
my daughter
guns
Courtney.
walked
We
out
in the
they
woods.
back door.
I ain't trying to get out. I'm just saying that whatever we saying, that's all.
That's where it came from.
I didn't see the other
Serious,
one.
them the
But if
people
you
that walked
if you
out
shoot in
and
the
it was
air,
at the playground.
that means whoever shooting this way shot the person up there.
That's what I'm
and
curious
that's all I'm
to
trying
know.
to tell you.
What was it? The group that's down there that were shooting down, or was it? No,
Nah,
it was
these
these.
people
It was.
shooting
Okay,
up.
so
Like we saw the
so
bullet going over our head.
Carissa, Quack.
Them people stayed
That's
right
when they
here.
were shooting, like trying to hit
from
people.
her porch.
Okay.
Not Quack.
They came from Quack house.
It come from her house.
Yeah.
Come from her house.
She the mother of the children, but it
I
came
gotcha.
from her house. Tell you
Yes,
like
ma'am.
this, if some of these people allow you to talk to their kids that
Yeah.
was at that playground,
Exactly.
Yeah.
They
I
can tell
promise you.
They saw it.
They were in
Like,
the playground.
I promise you. Several of them came to me and said, Auntie, we seen
this
that
gotta be
bad
settled.
lady with the burgundy braids with a pink gun in her hand, and she shot like this.
Okay. And that's who we think is Carissa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, she ran right past Florence. Tell them. She ran right past you with that gun in her hand.
See, she could have killed one of them kids, man.
And that's
She
what,
could've killed
like,
me.
seriously, that's
She
what
could-
we were.
Son, right
That,
there in the
like,
lady right there in
honestly.
that door. She
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah,
She
that's
came
did-
around
I
that
act like I
corner
ain't
and
seen
we
that
just
one.
heard one more again.
Yeah.
That females running. We like, what the? We know ain't no girl shoot.
Yeah.
But it's the truth.
A month later, they step into Verkitta Glenn's living room. Her interview is long, chaotic, emotional, and overflowing with detail. But one thread cut through everything she said: the gun, the threats, and the woman holding it.
Carissa was down there because I know she had a gun because J-Bo just had said to her, why is you going down there with all that stuff? Because J-Bo was sitting there talking to us about Quack kids, that somebody need to do something about her kids, get her up out of this. I know for a fact she had a gun. And
Carissa?
then, yes, and Trey.
Trey Foster?
I don't know his last name. I just know they call him so. I'm from uptown.
Now, was Trey down towards Carissa?
Yes.
Okay, and was he shooting towards y'all?
I didn't see him with his gun. I just know that he was down there, and everybody kept saying that he had the automatic. That's all I kept hearing, that he had automatic. I know that he carried sometimes, but I never
Like
seen
when
him
they
with
say
a gun.
automatic, like a rifle?
Some that shoot a lot of rounds.
Verkitta described Carissa walking through the courtyard earlier that day, already displaying the gun, already talking about people dropping on the Coopers, already escalating the tension. Detectives didn't need to interpret motives. Her own words placed the tone of the night before the shooting even happened. And she wasn't done. From her vantage point inside her car, Verkitta heard the first crack of gunfire. She couldn't see the faces in that moment, but she knew where that shot came from, and she knew who'd been standing there minutes earlier.
I personally can't say who had a gun because when they shoot, I'm not saying like, oh, he got it. You know what I'm saying? Who got it? I didn't even see Carissa with a gun.
So, let me ask you, who is telling you that they saw Sosa and Carissa?
Everybody. Everybody at
Do you
that
have
time
any
and moment.
specific names of anyone who can say that they saw Sosa out there with a gun? I had a lot of people pointing at Carissa.
See, Carissa, we would think because I got the way she was, her lingo would basically telling her, oh, I got license to carry. That does not give you license to kill or license just to shoot. You only can do that if you in the protection. You're not beefing with anyone. You are not arguing with anyone out there. But Carissa did walk down the sidewalk past all of it and said what she had to say and went down on her cousin. Not even 10, 15 minutes later, boom, everything went mayhem.
But what did she say?
There ain't nobody gonna fuck with the Coopers. Ain't nobody finna fuck with the Cooper. Ain't nobody finna drop on my cousin. These are teenagers.
When the gunfire spread, when people were ducking, when the courtyard erupted, Verkitta still held on to one detail. Carissa had been the only one making direct threats at the crowd, the only one pointing anything at anyone. Everyone else was described as firing upward or firing later. But the shot that mattered, the first shot, the one that hit the victim, traced back to the one person whose presence had been consistent in every interview. Detectives kept pressing. They asked Verkida about directions, angles, who was where, who moved, who ran. And she gave them more. Details that lined up with other witnesses about the initial shots coming from the playground.
How many people were shooting from the playground side?
Oh, Lord. I can say I heard about three to four different guns.
3 to 4 different guns, okay. So, one of them obviously being Carissa's, because you're saying she's pointing at, she's the only one pointing at the crowd shooting, from what you're hearing.
3 to 4 guns were firing, she said. But only one was firing at people. Only one was leveled horizontally, just like the other witnesses described. Only one came from the place where the victim fell. And only one person had been waving a gun in that area before the shooting even started. Then came the piece detectives needed most, the timeline. Verkida explains the gap between the police leaving and the gunfire beginning. She pointed out who was walking where. She tracked Carissa's movements between buildings. She placed her directly on the path leading toward the playground. The same path Ivy had already mapped for detectives.
When she gets down there with the other guys, how long after she gets there does the shots start getting fired?
The police finally told Shauna them to come on, let go. The police were gone probably 3 minutes, 2 minutes, the most.
So was she walking back like after the police had, like...
She walking while the police was out there.
Okay.
She walking down there. The police up here tell Shauna, because Shauna was down there.
So it's probably 30 plus minutes before the shots fire?
No,
quicker than that.
No, it was quicker than that because I remember the girl, the other little child who was fighting, her mom pulled up and stopped right there and said something to them because I remember she had that blue and white stick that like a peppermint, I'll never forget it. And she said something to them and that would routed them back up. And when she pulled out, after that, the police left, police left while she left, about 2-3 minutes. 3 minutes after that, because I'm in my car to go to the pack store, they started shooting. It was not even 5 minutes, like we just said, the police had just left.
So she basically runs her mouth, she walks back, police are leaving, she walks back to the playground, and all of a sudden shooting starts.
The lady pulled out, probably 5 minutes after the lady left, the big lady whose daughter was, the shooting started.
Okay. And what you're hearing from folks is that Carissa was shooting into the crowd and the other guys were shooting into the air.
4 witnesses from totally different locations, interviewed separately, without knowing what the other had said, were pointing toward the same person in that same patch of pavement. Taken together, the physical markers and the eyewitness positioning formed a single converging point. The shooter wasn't hidden. She'd been standing dead center in the courtyard, visible to everyone who looked up at the wrong or right moment. And just as detectives finished mapping the final pieces of the first shot, another voice entered the investigation. One they hadn't expected. A voice with no hesitation and no reason to protect anyone. Standrea heard the admission the entire investigation had been circling. Detectives eventually learned that the turning point didn't happen under fluorescent lights nor across an interview table. It happened when Standrea came back from the hospital, still shaking from what she had just seen, and walked toward the back units where people were gathering. The courtyard was still loud, arguing, crying, pointing, everyone repeating the same names again and again.
By this time, Carissa, I seen her in the middle of the street. She was in the middle of the street. I think she had on a black shirt, if I'm not mistaken. She was in the middle of the street, and she was just yelling stuff back and forth. Y'all scary ass bitch calling all these folk for some children and this. Y'all say y'all want the Coopers, this and this. And Mike Cooper, she was out there talking shit too, and majority of the kids just talking shit.
Each new account pushed detectives toward the same intersection of people and motives. Ivy had already tied the tension to the Cooper circle. Verkida echoed it with a description of the same crowd building around that same argument. And now Standrea places Carissa in the roadway, framing the confrontation with language nearly identical to what officers had already heard from Florence, Latanya, and others.
This is what really pissed me off because I didn't see who actually was shooting because I was in the back. By the time the shooting stopped, and then I heard screaming, and then I heard somebody say somebody got shot, so I immediately just dropped everything I had in my hand and started running over the steps. I only had to go over 2 steps. As soon as I got over the steps, I seen my sister laying on the ground. Everybody screaming, everybody was saying stuff, but in the midst of it, I can hear, like, while everything's going on, while we trying to see what's going on with my sister, I hear people just saying stuff. And then when I got back from the hospital, I actually went down there and talked to Carissa and myself. They was standing back here hiding in the back, and I asked her, why did you try and close if you wouldn't shoot? She told me she wasn't shooting, period. This is exactly what she told me. Me and my boyfriend were back there. Tangela Sim, Kiki, they was trying to hide in Sean's house. Sean made them get out her house. Well, when I came around there, because they had kept my baby for me while I went to the hospital. So she was back there saying, while I was at the hospital, the girl, Kiki, who had my baby, who had my phone, she called my mom and said, Carissa Cooper and Mike Cooper have been blowing up your phone while you in the hospital. I'm like, why is they blowing up my phone? She was like, they on the phone yelling, Dree, we ain't got nothing to do with it. I'm saying, so if they ain't got nothing to do with it, what the hell they calling me for? And we at the hospital with Thumper. We ain't even said no, I ain't even said nothing to nobody about who did nothing yet because we try to make sure Thumper okay.
Standria's return from the hospital added a layer the detectives hadn't charted yet. The calls, the messages, the sudden urgency from the very people she hadn't even spoke to placed a spotlight on behavior, not boasts or rumors. She walked into a courtyard still buzzing with names, but the only ones trying to reach her before she said a single word were the Coopers. Carissa didn't admit to anything at first. She denied everything. She said she hadn't been shooting. She said she wasn't involved. The people around her echoed the same line, trying to hold the denial together. Standria pressed again. She had just watched her sister die. She wasn't going to accept vague answers in the dark behind those buildings. The tension rose. The group tried to reinforce the denial, and the confrontation held there, unresolved, with Carissa refusing to give ground. This was the moment that primed everything. The denial created the pressure that would break minutes later. Detectives later traced the pattern of what Carissa did after the shooting, and every detail pointed to someone who felt the investigation closing in on her. She left Clark Gardens and moved to Cobb County before detectives conducted their first round of interviews. She gives a false name when officers first approach her on the night of the shooting, and then changes clothes before anyone questions her. She tries to stay inside multiple apartments after the gunfire. Someone also reported seeing her running with a book bag. Every movement pushed her further into the investigation, not away from it. Witnesses from very different parts of the courtyard repeated the same name unprompted. Residents mentioned the same behaviors. People described the same actions without comparing stories. By the time detectives finish charting her movements, they see a clear psychological arc: fear, avoidance, and desperation stacking on top of a denial that couldn't hold. This was the breaking point, the moment when the distancing behavior collided with the witness accounts circling her. The admission detectives would rely on didn't come from interrogation strategy nor evidence presentations. It came from Standria confronting her a second time, refusing to accept the evasiveness, refusing to let denial linger.
I'm like, why is y'all blowing up my phone? They begging and pleading, Dree, it wasn't up, we didn't shoot stuff, we wasn't shooting, period, this. But then she turned around and said, I shot one time, that was toward the O'Connor River. So I had a real bad panic attack, so they had put me on something, and I was just so drowsy. So I was just so, I don't know, it was like I couldn't react. So Kiki started snapping on Carissa and Mike. She was like, you just out here and said to us, because when I came, she said, I didn't shoot, period. So Kiki said, you just out here and told us you shot one time.
And this is Keandra, right?
You sat here and told me that you shot one time, but you said you shot toward the O'Connor River. So then when I asked her, I was like, so did you shoot or not? And then she was like, Gigi, I shot one time. I swear, one time toward the O'Connor River. I was like, but you just said you didn't shoot. Why you trying your clothes if you ain't, you know what I'm saying? Then she was like, I swear. I was like, bitch, you going down. Everything you just said, I'm going to tell the detective.
The room fell into focus once detectives heard it. It didn't need theatrics. It carried the weight of a confession without ever being delivered in a police building. It aligned with the witness statements. It aligned with the trajectory. It aligned with the behavior that followed the shooting. When detectives reconstructed motive, the themes were already present in the interviews dating back hours before the shooting. Witnesses described an ongoing feud between the Cooper girls and several other residents. Months of tension, arguments, and small fights that kept resurfacing. There'd been a confrontation earlier that same evening. Kids were involved. Adults stepped in. Police came, cleared the scene, and left the complex believing things had settled. But the energy didn't fade. Witnesses said the Cooper girls were still trying to fight. Voices carried across the courtyard. People yelled back and forth from the stairs. Someone flicked a taser repeatedly. Residents would describe agitation, ego, and pride taking over the moment. Caressa played into it. People said she paced in the roadway. People described her yelling. People described online bravado spilling into real-world hostility. Everything pointed toward a confrontation that kept building pressure long after the first group walked away. The motive wasn't complicated. A feud escalated. Pride hardened. Someone with a gun stood in the middle of it, and the courtyard became the backdrop to everything that followed. Everyone in Clark Gardens seemed to have this same story. They described one girl shooter. Their accounts wouldn't drift nor fracture. They locked onto the same person. Every strand of testimony pointed in the same direction. Every clip isolated the same person. Every resident who stepped forward, helping to narrow the truth until nothing disputed the opening shot. And the truth stayed in place through every retelling. Multiple witnesses, one direction, one shooter. Caressa Cooper. When detectives finished charting the witness statements, ballistic evidence, and post-shooting behavior, the investigation moved fast. Officers located Caressa Cooper in Cobb County during the early morning hours that followed. She was taken into custody and brought back to Athens. The charges were immediate and severe. She faced felony murder for killing a pregnant woman, along with aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and false statements tied to her initial denial to officers. Every element of the case supported holding her without bond, and that's exactly what the court ordered. From that moment forward, the legal system closed around her. The courtroom phase delivered the outcome that the investigation had been steering toward. Prosecutors laid out the witness accounts, the physical evidence, the admission recounted by Standrea, and the wider pattern of behavior that followed the shooting. The state of Georgia treats the killing of pregnant women as an offense with heightened severity, and the court applied that standard. The document showed that Caressa Cooper was convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Ariel Thumpa Calloway, who was 4 months pregnant when she died. The unborn child's death was recognized under Georgia law, adding weight to the overall case and contributing to the structure of the sentence. Her guilty verdict locked the narrative of the night into place. The first shot carried the legal consequence, and the responsibility for that shot was hers. The sentencing didn't resolve the reality for the family. The hospital footage captured the moment Ariel's mother learned what had happened. She collapsed in grief, an immediate physical reaction that needed no explanation. Standrea barely held herself together as she moved in and out of focus, trying to understand how a night that began with kids playing near a truck ended with her sister dying in the middle of the courtyard. Family members spoke through their tears, through pauses, through shock. There was no way to frame Ariel's death as an abstract tragedy. She'd been walking home with her toddler. She said that she was ready to take her son inside, She had a future she was already building, and another child on the way. The loss carried a weight that echoed through every interview, every courtroom appearance, and every statement the family gave. Ariel had plans. She had a life she was shaping, and she had a path that should have extended years beyond that night. What unfolded in Clark Gardens showed how quickly an argument can turn into a killing. Multiple people fired guns that night, but only one person created the chain of events that made everything else possible. The first shot matters. It always matters. That opening act of violence pulled families, children, and bystanders into a danger they never chose. Neighborhood conflicts, pride, and crowd dynamics can build pressure that explodes without warning. A pregnant woman walking her child toward home shouldn't end up in the path of any of it. The investigation forced the community to confront the consequences of that escalation and the importance of telling the truth when every detail counts. We do hope you enjoyed this production. Please subscribe so we can continue making the best crime videos out there. See you soon.